Greetings, this is Rosalind Parks with National Network News. On tonight's show, BrianEMuhammad, National Network News Weekly Contributor for the Global View segment, will discuss systemic racism, police violence, and genocide against Blacks in the U.S. Later in the show, our guest Julius Tillery, a fifth-generation Black farmer referred to as the Puff Daddy of cotton, will discuss his brand, Black Cotton. Lastly on the show, Vernon Muhammad will give us an update on blockchain and cryptocurrency. Before we get into the top news, let's do a recap on the current events we've covered recently. On yesterday's show, Dr. Akili discussed the rising deaths in India and the impact of the coronavirus vaccines. What are the implications on the rise of cases in India?
India did not use vaccines to initially decrease the number of cases they had early on in this pandemic. It was shutting down their society. It was wearing masks. It was social distancing. It was implications that they put in their society where you could even be fined if you were found not to wear masks in alignment with the standards that they set. I think the other implication is, as I have said on many occasions, herd immunity is a theory and it has not been proven. And when you look at the way that India had some pretty high cases early on in this pandemic, and they decreased it in the ways that I just mentioned, and now that they've had a return of these cases, the return of the cases recently within the last few weeks is after they have been vaccinating people since January.
Delilah Martinez, artist and community activist who started the mural movement, discussed the impact of the beautiful artwork and murals, sending messages of unifying the Black and Brown communities. What is the mural movement?
So the mural movement is a creative activism initiative. We started in June of 2020, right after the murder of George Floyd. It really started when the stores here in Chicago started to board up and we started to get in protest mode. We also started at that same time to hear rumors between Black and Brown communities not really getting along. So I felt very powerless at the time, especially watching the news. And I wanted to think of some type of way that I could give back or do something or use my voice and help the artists use their voice too. So one of the business owners located here in Pilsen in Chicago reached out to me because in the midst of the protests and the rumors of Black and Brown communities not getting along, we wanted to send a message to, in our community, which is predominantly Latino, we wanted to send a message of Black and Brown unity and support Black Lives Matter.
Jimmy Bumpengsi, Asian activist, talked about his motivations for taking action to self-patrol the streets of his neighborhood, protect the community, and escort the elderly. What else motivated you to go from your previous job, which was being a truck driver, to taking action and gathering community members to begin patrolling the streets?
Well, what makes me really go out there, because seeing all these videos of people getting attacked, especially elderlies, it really breaks my heart just to see that every single day I go on social media, but Instagram, Facebook, or even the news. And what triggers my mind is when I was growing up, my grandparents, especially my grandmother, walked around every single day to collect cans. And when I seen the elderly get attacked, I could only picture that's my grandparents. So, and that would really trigger me, especially when I see the one in San Francisco about that man passed away a few days later. I just told myself, I'm just gonna get off of work. I drove all up from San Jose to Oakland, and I started my foot patrol by myself, and no questions asked. And I knew I had to take action, because it didn't sit with me well, just seeing all this attack going on. So I had to take action.
NNV News anchor Willie Muhammad's guests, Dr. Halim and Dr. Assad, discussed the recent comments made by Master P on whether hip-hop needs a union.
Do you think hip-hop needs a union? If so, why? And if not, why? I think it would be an important step towards ensuring that many artists are not left destitute after their fame and their 15 minutes of fame has ended. But prior to that, I think what most artists need is mentorship from people like Master P, who I know has personally mentored several young artists, Kodak Black and a few other artists, to go over their contracts to ensure that they are getting at least a percentage of their masters, that they're getting the right points on each record sold or each download. So they need more mentorship. I believe a union is a good thing, but we can start with mentorship, someone that can review their contracts, someone that can help them book their own shows to remain as independent from the record label as possible.
Dr. Halim and Dr. Assad discussed Tim Scott's comments on the topic, Is America Racist?
Is America a racist country? And if you say that it isn't, what's one example that you... Is America a racist country? And if you say that it isn't, what's one example?
Dr. Halim.
Is America a racist country? And if you say that it isn't, what's one example? Is America a racist country? And if you say that it isn't, what's one example that you can give to show otherwise?
By every indication, and I'll give you one indicator. Ownership. Ownership. This country was founded by 39 white male property owners at the Constitutional Convention. It's about ownership. Now, when you look at any indicators by ownership, I don't care how many black people are in the NFL or NBA, how many of them own teams, corporations, how many of us own corporations, our businesses. Most of them, the black enterprises, are single proprietor businesses. Name me an indicator by which that does not prove that black people are on the bottom and white people are on the top.
Dr. Halim and Dr. Assad also commented on the anti-protest bills, which were introduced and passed by state legislators in an attempt to silence Black voices.
How is it that a country whose foundation is based upon protest, that we're now seeing elected officials attempting to restrict such activities?
You know, before I answer that, I find it funny that he said we're not going to allow Florida to become Portland or Seattle, but he didn't say we're not going to allow Florida to become Washington, D.C., when on January 6th, we had white nationalists and Trump supporters storm the very capital of the United States. It's just funny to me. At the root of all of these bills, at the root of this entire conversation, and we can talk specifically about the 34 bills around the country, but at the root of this is citizenship. And again, I tell Black people, we are not full-fledged citizens of the United States. We are only semi-citizens, second-class citizens. So those, the Boston Tea Party and our constitutional right to protest and freedom of speech and to redress our grievances with the federal government, that does not apply to Black people.
NNV News anchor Willie Muhammad's guest on I Have a Testimony was Imam Sultan Muhammad, the national imam of the Nation of Islam.
What do you see as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's significance to the Islamic world in 2 minutes?
Oh, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a demonstration of Muhammad in modern times. So for the Islamic world to see a bold representation of freedom, justice, and equality in one of our own who has grown up here under the foot of oppression of our open enemies in this government that has generation after generation destroyed our people and are continuing to do so. He speaks truth to power. It is Muhammad, peace be upon him, that said, the greatest jihad is to speak truth to a tyrant.
NNV News anchor Tariq X spoke with brother Ilya Rashad Muhammad about Shark Tank's Damon John's apology after his remarks about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
So why, when a person speaks favorably about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, they often recant their statements? Is Damon John's apology an example of the enemy's controlling grip over him?
That's exactly what it is. And not to single out our brother Damon John, but it's a sign and an example of the enemy's controlling grip over Black people, period. Particularly our Black leaders and even our celebrities like our brother Damon John, who is a multi-millionaire. So if a multi-millionaire that's a Black man who's made success in their world has to be pressured to recant just from liking the words of the truthful words of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, that's just another, honestly, a sad example of the controlling effect that whites, particularly certain members of the Jewish community, have over our people.
Tariq X also spoke with Brother Ilya Rashad Muhammad about the vital role whistleblowers play in uncovering the truth about government and political corruption.
So why is the role of a whistleblower so important and vital to the common people?
Yes, whistleblowers are extremely important. The role of a whistleblower is almost like that of a prophet, in the sense that he or she exposes the wrongdoing and has the gall and the audacity to challenge the powers that be in order to expose the wrongdoing of those in power. So a whistleblower is essential if there's ever to be any sense of freedom, justice, and equality in the land, especially if you have a society that is run by oppressors, dictative oppressors, as is America, deceitful leaders, where there's so much bloodshed. And
Brother Ilya Rashad Muhammad also discussed the Final Call newspaper article about Earl DMX Simmons and the remarks made by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan during his funeral.
At his funeral, several people described how he prayed and fasted before his concerts. What examples can we take from DMX's life and incorporate in our own?
You know, as Minister Farrakhan was sharing, his life was impactful. And even though he was only like 50, 51, something like that years old, when he passed, many would consider that a short life. But Minister Farrakhan pointed out that Jesus had a shorter life than what you would call than DMX.
Right, that's right.
But he's not measured by the length of years that he was on this earth. He's measured by the impact that he has, the divine impact that he has on others. So Brother DMX left us something to look at.
Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Next, weekly contributor BrianEMuhammad will be on for the Global View. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people, and upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
The UN Human Rights Commission mandated a report on the systemic racist police violence and ongoing police genocide against Blacks in the United States. Bear with us just for a moment. Joining us to discuss this is BrianEMuhammad, NNV News Weekly Contributor. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, Sister Rosalind, and Assalamu alaikum to everybody. And I just want to say, while we're still in Ramadan Mubarak to all of the fasting Muslims in our last few days of the month.
Yes, that's right. Your recent article in the Final Call newspaper is entitled Ugly America. Panel condemns ongoing police genocide against Blacks. Who were among the individuals and group representatives on that International Commission of Inquiry panel and on systemic racist police violence?
Well, it was a panel of commissioners, all from outside of America. None of them were from the United States, all impartial to the politics and everything within America. But there was 12 of them from the Caribbean, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. And it was put together by a group of lawyer groups that came together called the International Commission of Inquiry on Systematic Racist Police Violence Against African Descent, people of African descent in the United States. And that's who put it together.
What were the group's conclusions?
Well, they concluded that the police violence, which really amounts to police genocide on Black people, they looked at about 44 cases that resulted in fatalities and one case permanent paralysis. But they determined that the police killings and maiming of Black people in the United States amounts to crimes against humanity and also breaks many international laws.
I would agree. Police violence and killing of Black people are crimes against humanity and atrocities that violate international law. Will the International Criminal Court launch an investigation against the U.S. for these crimes against humanity?
Well, it depends. You know, this is one of the things that the group have called for, the International Criminal Court to intervene and do an investigation and call the U.S. out on these atrocities. The problem is that the United States is not a party, a signatory to the court. So anytime, and there's been other, issues in the past, other efforts in the past to bring the U.S. Before the court, but the U.S. fought tooth and nail because it's not a party, and America, in its arrogance, don't feel that the outside justice system should have any dealings with what Americans do or the U.S. government does within. So it remains to be seen.
Okay. Several family members of the victims of police killings were involved in a Zoom press conference. Who were some of the family members of that conference?
Well, Gwen Carr, who was the mother of Eric Garner. If you remember, Eric Garner was choked to death in an illegal chokehold by New York City police. Philonise Floyd, the brother of George Floyd. And of course, we know that George Floyd's killing is the thing that sparked this international attention on the plight of Black people in America, where law enforcement is concerned. And the mother of Clinton Alexander, who died in Dallas at the hands of the Dallas police in 2013, Colette Flanagan.
Can you speak to us about some of the things that they said about the U.S.'s systemic racism and the killings of our Black men and women?
Sure. You know, Ms. Flanagan, really, to me, her remarks really stood out because she called it straight that America has a culture of systemic racism, you know, and that's deeply rooted in the police departments throughout the country. And she called for a robust international accountability, you know, a mechanism that will support the efforts of eradicating and dismantling this system. And she feels like this group of lawyers felt that this has to be done outside of the borders of America because the justice system within has been a dismal failure. Even though there was this verdict with the killer, this murderous cop of George Floyd, that is truly the exception, not the rule in America.
Right. Now, do you see the condemnation of America as a major human rights offender and breaker of international law as a step towards reparations for Black and brown people who are victims of this genocide?
That's a good question. I believe so. I believe that it's a step in the process to fight and gain global esteem and support for reparatory justice. Because our people, we know the condition of our people from slavery. We know the negative outlook of life for many of our people because of that. And this only compounds it. The actions of so-called law enforcement on us, this killing field that they have formed on Black life. So yes, I believe that this report is a step in that will help, you know, again, set the stage and set the case, not just in the United States, but set the case against the United States, but on the world stage.
Now, can you speak to what exactly is the Rome Statute? And then why isn't the U.S. a signatory of that statute?
Well, the Rome Statute is a group of laws that the world community agreed to abide by, you know, and the United States actually was part of the group of nations that put it together. But when the group of nations decided on principles that court, the International Criminal Court, can actually investigate its member states for crimes or alleged crimes against humanity, America backed up and said, we're not going for that because, again, America in its arrogant stance this arrogance that it has always been from its inception, is saying that, no, we are the moral authority of the world. You don't judge us, we judge you. And so they backed up off of that. So they never ratified it. Now, they did things to support its existence, and they've even pushed other nations and leaders for the World Court to arrest and try in its hypocritical way. But when it came to America, America did everything possible not to be subjected to the International Court, which again, it was a part of the founding nations of, you see. And so, and I'm gonna tell you how far it goes. Last year, and over the last year and a half during the Trump administration, the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court wanted to investigate crimes against humanity perpetrated by U.S. military in Afghanistan and lands pertaining to that war in Afghanistan. They wanted to look at the military and members of the intelligence, the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. America didn't say, okay, come, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to accommodate if there was some wrongs done by our people. No, they decided to personally sanction the prosecutor, block her from coming to America to do this, and anybody from the court who was due to come to the United States to do any kind of investigation in the matter. Not only did they sanction them, but they sanctioned members of their families, staff. This is the kind of, again, as I use on the show all the time pertaining to America, this is the gangster that we know. And that's how they move on the world stage. So that's why they're not a part of the ICC.
Gotcha. Now, we have a break coming up, but I want to make sure that I ask you this question before we go. Is the United States the proverbial fox guarding the hen house when it comes to human rights abuses? And is the current incident of police violence part of the U.S. colonialism and racist history of oppression and genocide perpetuated against Black and brown people?
Oh, yes. It is the proverbial fox guarding the hen house. In fact, it's the fox financing the hen house. And so that's why any of the hens who may get bold enough to rise up, they think twice. That's why the UN is a toothless tiger when it comes to accountability of the US, because the US pumps so much money in, and it has this unyielding way of twisting the arm of other nations. So, you know, they are certainly like a fox in the hen house. And the second part of your question on that was give me that again, please.
Yes. Are the current incidents of police violence part of the U.S. colonialism and racist history of oppression and genocide?
Yes, definitely. You know, first of all, we have to recognize that is the good framework to deal with America on the international stage. For Black people to first recognize that we are a colonized and still a subjected people. And so whether we know that or not, we have to understand that in order to understand the role of law enforcement. White communities, law enforcement is to protect and serve. Black communities is to enforce the slave master paradigm and relationship that we have. It's to control and contain the slaves, just like it did. The police departments actually started in the slave catching days. That was part of empire and to contain the slave and to keep that slave master relationship. And this is why you see this killing, again, turning America into a killing field at the hands of law enforcement, because that is how they view us. It's systemic. Right. So even though you have cops who may not think about Black people like that, but it is systemic in their departments and in their history. And it's the very institution of law enforcement in America. So yes, that's what it is.
Thank you, Brother Brian. I know we could listen to you talk about this all day. But thank you so much for your insight on this subject. I look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, Julius Tillery, a fifth-generation cotton farmer, will be on to talk about his business. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
As a fifth-generation Black farmer, Julius Tillery is referred to as the Puff Daddy of cotton for his Black cotton brand and cotton farming empire.
Cotton is not something that hurt us. It's just a plant, and it's a beautiful plant. And I want our people to reclaim it and know that it's something that we use. Our ancestors worked in this and helped build the country. I want us to be able to look at cotton with pride, knowing that we still own part of this production. Most people, when they think about cotton, they think about negative aspects and not much money in it and really hard work. But I wanted to flip the perspective where we try to sell our products directly to people, and we try to uplift what's positive to come out of cotton. And the very first part of changing the way we looked at it is I didn't want it to come off as sad and oppressive.
Joining us is Julius Tillery.
Hey, everyone.
We'll get right to it. As a fifth-generation farmer, what are some of the differences between farming these days and farming in the previous one or two generations?
Well, one of the biggest difference between farming now and farming in the past two generations is the amount of science that's involved in regards to the biotech chemicals and the pesticides. It's more costly to be in the cotton business now than it's ever been. Cotton seeds, 50-pound bag costs you $600 a bag. When I was little, like in the 90s, it used to cost maybe less than $100 a bag. So the cost is more expensive, but there's more connectivity and more market opportunities because of the internet now. I'm sure my grandfather and father could never imagine the opportunities that are able now because of the internet.
Mm. And keeping in mind our history, and as you mentioned in the clip, we have a negative connotation with cotton. Have you received any negative feedback when you decided to continue farming cotton this generation?
Well, there are some people that when they look at cotton, they go think about the history of slavery and will wonder why a black man will be in the cotton business. However, my family has been in the cotton business for 5 generations after slavery. So there's a long history behind cotton, and it's a way that we take care of our family. And cotton is an important crop to our community. So we wanted to be able to instill some pride in our community, knowing that black people around us raise cotton, and the last few that's still raising cotton, we should be able to do it with pride, knowing that our community is behind us.
Can you tell us about some of the products that you offer?
Well, I create wreath products, home decor products. You can see some of the products behind me, but we make home decor that's made from raw cotton that's grown on our farm. So it's different than the cotton you would see in the stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's actually cotton that has steel seeds in it, so you know it's real. The stuff that you see in some of these craft stores, it's like glued together products. So all our products come from our family farm, grown in a black community and probably produced by black hands, because it's 99% of black people live in our community. So this is a true, authentic black American product.
What's your most popular item?
Our bouquets, just like a dozen roses, but it's actually cotton flowers. And we have this saying that black cotton is the new rose because it's just as fashionable but lasts forever.
Now, is there a community of black cotton farmers that you connect with via the internet?
Well, there are some organizations that have row crop farmers that may include a couple of cotton farmers. However, cotton farmers that are African Americans dwindled down a lot in the last 10 years. I don't think it's more than 100 left in the country. So we have the National Black Growers Council. They work with a lot of row crop farmers, and you have a couple other organizations that have a few cotton farmers, but it's not many fostering cotton farmer communities. And hopefully in the future we can, keep a few cotton farmers surviving to be able to work together.
Now, earlier this year, we covered a story about black farmers finally receiving millions in government dollars to help close the gap where our farmers could buy equipment, buy feed, buy seeds. Have you been able to take advantage of any of those dollars?
I have not been able to take advantage of any of those programs. A lot of the funding that came from the last COVID bill is to go to farmers who have debt. And a lot of, multi-generational, traditional, conventional farmers, they try to avoid USDA farm loans. If you know about the Black Farmers lawsuit against USDA. So I come from a traditional family farm where we try to avoid those types of loans. So a lot of farmers like myself really didn't benefit much from this. However, people who was able to get loans, a lot of new farmers that maybe was able to cash in on some of those loans, the political savvy people, they was able to be able to benefit a little bit more from it. But farmers typically like me didn't get much from it because we might had limited amount of loans access from the beginning.
Now, speaking of COVID and the monies that were distributed as a result of it, we know that COVID definitely affected food crops. Did it affect you negatively with cotton?
Well, during the COVID period, we've been in a trade war. So cotton prices was down, but from the economy, the cotton price has gone up just a little bit. But in regards to a workforce and working food crops, it's really hard to find people to be able to work, especially in the times we in right now. So it's kind of straining, farm labor is typically a low wage income industry, and people don't want to work for low wages anymore. So, and that's myself excluded. So it's been hard to, grow our supply chain in a time like this when workers is hard to find because of the COVID period. So I'm hoping that when COVID ends, we'll have more workforce available to try to help us grow the business. But we try to make sure that we take care of our workers in a proper way and paying them fair living wages.
Now, on the farm, I'm sure it is huge. Do you have people wanting to come and visit or wanting to come and learn or demonstrations or classes on your farm?
Absolutely. We're open for tours all the time. If you go to our website and there's a contact us section, send us a message, tell us who you are and where you're from, and we'll get back in contact with you and set up logistics for a tour. But that's a good place to get started if you want to meet with us. And even if you want to volunteer to just learn about working on the farm and learn some of the roles that happens, go to our website, blackcotton.us, and look at the contact us section, and you'll be able to send us a message and we will get back in touch with you.
Now, Black Cotton US, is that also where we can reach you if we're unable to visit the farm, but we want to donate money?
Absolutely. There's a donate us section. There's a shop section where you can find some of these products. Please donate, because all these funds going out to a Black community, supporting a Black business. That's going to be something we hope to be able to pass along to, not just for my family, but for my community, where we can change how we look at ourselves and how we do business. We're from a poor community, and, you know, where cotton is one of the number one businesses here. And we want to change the aspects where the people who make the most money from cotton are typically the furthest away from the fields, where we want to try to make that the people who live close to these fields actually can benefit from this business as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned earlier that there are few and far in between workers to work the farm. I know we've had advancements in technology. A lot of us learned about the cotton mill when we were coming up in school. What tools do you use these days to farm, pick the cotton?
Well, we have a 2-row combine that picks the cotton. I never even seen people hand pick cotton in my lifetime, and I'm 35. So hand picking cotton really ended in the 1980s with the advancement of the cotton combines. Right now, I think the data tracking technology like farm logs is very important, because farmers can trace how much rain their fields is getting. There's a company that's reached out to us and working with us a little bit called Arable, where they have a machine that captures information on fields and the climate around you. So there's ways that farmers are using technology like smartphones to track, you know, when storms are coming, how much rain their fields is getting, and also how much inputs they're putting into each field. So there's a lot of technology available to help farmers. Also, YouTube University. Anytime you have an issue with anything on a farm tractor, you can YouTube an issue. Google is very good at helping searching for issues. I also talk to a lot of farmers on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Mr_Black_cotton. So I talk with a lot of farmers. If you ever want to talk agriculture and farming in general, reach out to me on Twitter.
And what is that IG handle?
My Instagram handle is at blackcotton.us, and that's where you can see the most of our farm story. You can see the planting, you can see the harvesting, you can see where we make products and where those products go all across the country. And we've sold products to over 40 states in the United States, so we're all across the nation in pretty much any major city. So please reach out to us, support us, and follow along, and support what we call the #HomeTeam.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Tillery, for joining us today and changing the narrative around cotton farming.
Absolutely. Cotton is our culture.
Yes, sir. Okay. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Afterward, Vernon Muhammad will be on to give us an update on cryptocurrency. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline memorializes the late, great DMX. Last week, DMX's life was celebrated at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Large crowds gathered to honor the legend. They were there to remember a man who wasn't afraid to express his pain with the world. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke via Zoom to the large audience. He delivered words of comfort, wisdom, and guidance to everyone under the sound of his voice. DMX will live on. This FCM volume number 29 edition features the middle page article is a transcript of what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at the memorial. To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com. and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
As the number of crypto billionaires continues to grow, more people want to learn how they can get into the market and protect their assets.
Doubled. But the big story in crypto land, Ethereum, the cryptocurrency surging nearly 11% today to an all-time high. It is now well above 3,000 thanks to the NFT craze and all the transactions. It's all about the network effect. It's all about the transactions that take place. $1.5 trillion in transactions in the first quarter alone, which is more than the 7 prior quarters combined, Tim. It is amazing.
So the validation for Ethereum is front and center, and whether it's the numbers you're talking about, whether it's 7 million new Ethereum addresses now to 55 million, whether it's the EIB issuing $200 million of bonds on an Ethereum network. There's no question that there is use case, whereas I think people have questioned what a lot of digital tokens or altcoins and whatnot could be used for. There's no question about what this could be used for. So, this is, to me, for the skeptics out there, this is such an easier story to get behind.
Joining us to discuss more on cryptocurrency is Vernon Muhammad. Greetings, sir.
Greetings.
All right. What's new on the blockchain?
There's quite a bit that's been going on over the last week or so. Everybody, of course, is paying attention to Ethereum. It's hit an all-time high. And as the questions were asked in that, how do people access the market? How do people get Bitcoin? How do they get Ethereum? How do they get into the cryptocurrency space? There's a lot of good information that's out there. There's a lot of bad information as well. So I'm hoping in our conversation we can kind of shed some light on that. A couple of other things highlight the head of the Ethereum network. A young man became the first or the youngest billionaire in the world. 27-year-old man named Vitalik Buterin, who founded Ethereum, basically became a billionaire because of all the activity and all the usefulness of that technology, the Ethereum blockchain. So you have that going on. You also have, as they mentioned, I think they were saying that there's $1.5 trillion of transactions. It crossed over the $2 trillion mark. So all around the world, cryptocurrency is becoming more and more of a regular, entrenched reality in how business is done. So it's something that you definitely don't want to miss. And lastly, there's the central bank digital currency all around the world. Again, there are different countries that have their own central banks, and those countries are ahead of the United States in implementing digital currency and blockchain technology into everyday life. America is running behind on that. So there's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes, and probably will be for the next year, where the country and the financial system starts to gear up and get the American people used to that.
Now, I want to ask you, can you offer us the crypto lesson of the week?
The crypto lesson of the week. Let me see if I can slim it down to one. Of course, I love to say, don't believe the hype. Don't jump on things just because it's hot and just because the bandwagon is there in front of you. But the main thing for people to understand is you're talking about assets. You're talking about something that has value. You wouldn't just leave your wallet sitting outside on your front steps or on the bus stop after you get on the bus. So similarly, when you're talking about cryptocurrency, currency, money, you're talking about digital currency, you've got to protect it. One of the biggest things that, one of the most important things we should add to our vocabulary is understanding about a crypto wallet and what the difference between crypto wallets are. You have a hot wallet, which is something that is connected to the internet, something that's connected to the world. It's usually easily accessible, but it's not the most secure thing that you can have. So for people who know a little bit more about it, if you get your cryptocurrency on an exchange, your exchange has a wallet where your cryptocurrency resides. The exchange and that wallet is not the safest place for you to keep it. That's just there for doing transactions. The alternative to the hot wallet is what's called a cold storage wallet. That's usually a physical device, whether it's a card similar to this one, or whether it's you might have seen Ledger Nano cold storage USB wallet. They represent something that's not connected to the internet, not always connected to your computer, but they allow you to house and store your digital currency away from anywhere where it could be compromised. So protect your assets, learn what digital wallets are, and get yourself cold storage or cold wallet.
Now, can you speak to us about two-factor authentication, better known as 2FA?
Yes, that's another thing. The world that we're living in is increasingly focused on security and the need for security. You're just about every one of the credit bureaus has been hacked. If you've got whatever your chosen email platform is, chances are it's already been hacked. And there was a couple of years ago when there was loads of news that came out saying information has been compromised and there have been data breaches. Two-factor authentication allows you to put an extra layer of protection on the things that you have to access by signing in with your password or with a PIN number. All it basically is, or the most common form of it is if you were to sign in to an account, it would send a text message to your cell phone, and you would have to put in the PIN number that's sent to your cell phone so that you can access the account that you log into. Or what's even better than that, there's something called Google Authenticator, which after you would log in, you have this app on your phone called Google Authenticator, which puts this 6-digit code that changes every 20 seconds. So if someone happened to breach your account or hack your account and log in, unless they have your phone, unless they see the particular numbers that is displaying for that 20-second window, there's no way for them to get in. So instead of just one factor, you have two things that you have to go through to get access.
Now, earlier you mentioned that the U.S. is behind other countries in regard to digital currency. What are your thoughts on why that is?
There's been traditionally, when it comes to technology, when it comes to advances in the STEM fields, Asia, India, China, countries on that side of the world just have embraced that more than has been done in America. Unfortunately, we're the leaders in pop culture, but we're not necessarily taking serious the things that we need to embrace in terms of nation building and what would allow us to maintain a strong position. So that's just the reality. You have whole cities and jurisdictions in China that are already functioning completely on the blockchain. You have different countries in the Netherlands and places in Europe where their whole municipality already runs on blockchain technology. So America has some catching up to do, but that presents a unique opportunity for everybody who's awake.
Now we have your Ethereum. Most of us don't know what, or may not know what blockchain is. For someone who is a complete newbie, can you give us some good resources to get us started? You mentioned Google. Where would we start looking to get more information on digital currency?
One of the best resources that I can share, it's free and open to anyone who wants it, is an organization, a group called Wealth Builders Worldwide. They actually gather together people all around the world and specifically have those conversations for newbies, for people who've never heard of this before and don't necessarily know where the pitfalls are and where the opportunities lie. So interestingly enough, right after this program, there's going to be a live presentation that Wealth Builders Worldwide is giving. And that's all on my social media platforms. And we can get that at the end. But anything that deals with, as I was saying, security, making sure that you're accessing cryptocurrency from the proper platforms and you're going about it the right way, can be covered by going to that group.
Now, before we close out today and we tune over into that program, can you give us just a few tidbits on what are the opportunities in the blockchain arena and how do we take advantage of them?
Excellent question. I was just in a conversation before getting on with you about how blockchain technology represents at least 10 different potentially $1 trillion industries. Again, the whole world is moving in this direction. So when you think of markets, when you think of business, don't just think of what's going on in America, but various industries. Just to give some popular ones, you hear people talking about NFTs. Okay, you know that we are the kings and queens of creativity. Okay, and everyone else has benefited off of our creativity in many instances, but us. NFTs give creative people an opportunity to be their natural selves and reap all the rewards that come from their own creativity. And the platforms that I'm talking about will allow for the novice to learn how to make that transition. So instead of just focusing on art and creativity, you got the business of art and how you can make it benefit yourself. There's also decentralized finance. We all know about banks. We know about savings account. You put your money in a bank and the bank makes lots of money. You don't make very much off of it. Decentralized finance is leveling the playing field so that you get a much, much greater return on your money and much greater protections and growth out of your assets. So there's loads of information like that. I tell people go directly to the sites that I recommend. There's goldmasterplan.info. Again, you can look for wealthbuildersworldwide.net and make sure you join me on this program that we're doing right after this one here.
All right, Wealth Builders Worldwide.net. Thank you.
Exactly.
All right.
And goldmasterplan.info.
Yes. I appreciate you joining us today. This has been an informative segment, so I look forward to having you back on the show to discuss more about cryptocurrency.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.